Hello, my name is Ember. Welcome back to my channel where I play The Sims 4. So if you missed my last video, I made some trans werewolves with the new Werewolf Pack, which I'm very excited about, by the way, which is why I wanted to start playing with it, but I didn't really feel like recording a voiceover as I was playing, so I'm recording a voiceover now to show you some of my first gameplay with the Werewolves Pack with these trans werewolves that I made, and Morgan Ember made a special guest appearance, which was fun. So this video is going to be just, some commentary on the gameplay and also the Werewolf Pack itself, giving you some tips and tricks that I figured out while playing with it. There was a few things that I would have done differently had I known at the time. So to start out, I had Bryn, and well, I tried to have all of them come up to this little mountain to sort of look out. It's very beautiful, honestly. I wish there was more to do up here, although you'll see once werewolves turn for the first time, they'll kind of end up here. But I kind of wish there was more cool things to do up here, but I did have them come up and howl a bit and, look at the sky, and I just thought it was very beautiful. But I sort of did a rags to riches. I mean, we started with 0 simoleons, so I had them fishing and scavenging to try to find things that, we could make a little bit of money from. Turns out werewolves don't really need money that much. You'll see with the perks, they can kind of get a lot of things where they kind of don't really need a normal house. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do, because normally in a rags to riches, you end with building them a nice fancy house, but literally all of my Sims got the temperament where they don't like being indoors. They want to be outdoors all the time. So I don't think they want a house. That is kind of the cool thing about the temperaments though, is that they seem to be based on the Sims traits and actions. So sort of lifestyles, but I don't know, maybe a little bit less annoying than lifestyles. But maybe that's just because they're new. But because all of my Sims, they don't have a house, so they've just been outside all the time, they all gained this temperament where they only like being outside. And they also gained some other ones that were really interesting as well, and I think really fit into the characterization I had for these Sims. James Turner mentioned in his Werewolf Rags to Riches videos that all of the werewolf abilities are kind of perfect for rags to riches. You can make money from them, you can sleep anywhere, you can go to the bathroom anywhere, you can groom yourself, it's kind of perfect. So I said, I don't even know, it's almost they don't really need a house at that point. You can kind of just take care of all of their needs. So but it's also really cool because it makes sense for werewolves that they would have different priorities than other Sims. I tried to use this lake for them to bathe, clean off a little bit, and also use the bathroom in the lake. It was kind of some of them, it was harder to get them to fill their bladder need in the lake than others, but it did eventually work. It didn't seem to get up hygiene very quickly, and some of them it kind of seemed to be making it worse. Maybe the water was dirty, I don't know. But we did get some fishing. We caught a few nice fish. I really wanted to have them grill the fish or roast them, because I've done that before. I'm pretty sure you can cook fish on a grill or a campfire. Maybe they shouldn't have high enough cooking level. I don't actually know, because I couldn't find anywhere on a grill or the campfire to cook the fish they caught, which is kind of annoying. You could grill a Luna fish, which is a special fish that came with this pack, but you have to learn the recipe apparently somehow, so we couldn't do that. So that was frustrating. We ended up roasting marshmallows instead. They started to find some cool collectibles and stuff. It honestly wasn't too hard to make money. Of course, having 3 Sims helps, although that means, you have to take care of 3 Sims as well. Bryn actually found a frog. I think it was in the tunnels, and then there was this pump over here that has frogs, so Bryn wanted to go gather frogs there, but yeah, it didn't go well. That was near Greg's cabin, and also they were too uncomfortable to even gather frogs, so oops. And that didn't turn out well, but it kind of fit into the story, because the whole idea was that Bryn, even though their and Guadalupe's father is a werewolf, for some reason Bryn didn't wasn't already a werewolf, so now they have a nice case of the werebees from Greg. I guess I should probably establish the relations here. So Tobias is dating Guadalupe, and Guadalupe is Bryn's older sister. But after Bryn got attacked by Greg, I sort of had Tobias like helping take care of them, and like he came over to like make sure they were okay and officially adopted them as a care dependent, which I thought was cute. And then also helped gather that frog that Bryn had been trying to get and gifted it to them. So then Bryn was happy because they were able to breed the frogs and contribute to the household, you know, getting some money to afford things that they needed, like food. It's also kind of funny because Bryn did eventually gain the sentiment anti-capitalist canine, which is honestly very fitting for their character. They're a freegan, so like I said, I think the temperaments are a lot of times based on the traits. And so it's very fitting, but yeah, they, you know, in the future they might not care that much about making money. Guadalupe has the temperament where it's like social outcast or something, so like she feels kind of like no one really understands her, and she gains fury more quickly when she's sad and like low on social, which I also thought was fitting for her because the way that I like imagine Guadalupe is, you know, she's this older sister. She feels like she needs to be strong and like take care of everyone, but she doesn't necessarily have someone taking care of her, even when they are. And I, you know, this like the others do try to take care of her, but she has a hard time being like emotionally vulnerable with them and like being able to really get that support that she needs. And so she, even when she's around, you know, a lot of other people, she might feel kind of lonely. So I thought that was like a fitting sentiment for her. Basically, my idea was like Bryn and Guadalupe had a fight with their werewolf father, who was just bad news, honestly, and they decided to run away. He actually popped up a few times around in the world, so that was interesting. But they do have like a very negative relationship with him, don't want to be around him. And like I said, Tobias is Guadalupe's boyfriend, and he like decided to come with them. He's also a werewolf. And, you know, he's just going around marking his territory all over Moonwood Mill, wolfing down raw meat, you know, as you do. I finally got Guadalupe to pee in the, well, it said it's like the ocean, but this is like a lake. But they didn't really have anywhere like good to pee. Well, I mean, that's why Tobias was marking his territory everywhere, because he got that trait, that ability. And Bryn is actually a teenager, so they've been like going to school and stuff, which I don't know if it's a great idea to go to school when you have a case of the werebees, but you know, they do tend to eat and pee and stuff at school, so I thought it would be okay. Spoiler alert, it's not okay. If your sim is like about to turn into a werewolf, they have werebees, I would not let them out of your sight. Like, I would not let them go to school or go to work or whatever, because not only did it end up like majorly glitching to where I had to use cheats to get Bryn to do the first werewolf transformation, they almost starved to death at school. Like, the hunger when they have werebees is no joke. Like, they will die from it. Like, you need to be watching your sim as they're turning into a werewolf, and they need to be eating constantly. And I thought, you know, when they're at school, like, they eat, but they don't eat that often at school, and it did not work. And like, I got the pop-up, you'll see in a bit, where it said like Bryn starves to death in 0 minutes, and I was like, no. And they were at school, so I like couldn't like have them eat or anything. So I also had to do a little bit of a cheat for that. So yeah, I would just suggest make sure you have your sim nearby and eating things when they're turning into a werewolf. And then, you know, Tobias is in his first rampage. Of course, he had to do a supernatural smackdown with the first sim he saw, who I assume is like a spellcaster or something. I don't know the sim, but if you can do a supernatural smackdown with like the other occults. So they had a nice fight, so that's fun. Tobias seems to be into fighting other supernatural creatures. And then Bryn rode their bike to the local bar, and they decided to go and check it out and visit, which was a very good idea, because underneath this bar, there's like a nice little werewolf hangout where they can actually meet their needs and stuff, because their needs were not doing super well, I'll be honest. I did go into the world and like place dumpsters around everywhere at the different lots, because like I said, Bryn is a freegan, and that's a trait that comes with eco lifestyle, and they like to like rummage for things in the dumpsters, and I just kind of wanted to include that in this challenge. I thought it would be fun if they were rummaging in dumpsters and like finding furniture and finding food and stuff. And I think it would like be cool to use some of that furniture in whatever I end up building for them. So after his first transformation, Tobias got a new temperament. I don't know if that's how that works actually, if you get the temperaments as they transform. Now that I'm saying it, I think that might actually be how it works. But he got a new temperament where he only likes to eat raw meat. So that's fun. Again, I think that one was based on the traits because he's a foodie and the temperament says something about like, he really likes food. Unfortunately for werewolves, that means like they want the freshest of meat. So I did end up getting him the like ability where he can go out and hunt for raw meat because that was kind of necessary since, you know, he only likes to eat raw meat. And then now Guadalupe is having her first transformation. And I kind of love the werewolf form I ended up making for Guadalupe. Like, she looks like a cheetah. And I love the fur pattern I ended up doing. I still need to go in and edit Bryn's werewolf form because I want it to be like colorful because my idea for creating the sim was that it would be very colorful. And you know, Guadalupe gets into her fair share of fights as well. There's a little bit of bad blood between Guadalupe and Rory, which is a little bit of an issue because Bryn is really a big fan of Rory and kind of wants to join the Werewolves Pack, whereas Guadalupe is a bit more reserved. She doesn't want to hurt anyone, and like, you know, she doesn't think that there's anything wrong with being a werewolf, but she also like really wants to be able to master it so that she doesn't cause any harm to anyone. She wants to, you know, take care of other people. So she definitely leans more towards the pack that's a little bit more reserved and diplomatic and, you know, doesn't want to just fight everyone all the time and be wild. And yeah, here Guadalupe has earned a new temperament after her first transformation. So I think they might actually get the temperaments after their each transformation. Okay, watching the footage back, they're clearly getting the new temperaments when they level up as a werewolf and not from the transformations. They just happen to coincide like that in my gameplay. But the new one that she got was Racked with Guilt, which again is very fitting for the character arc I was going for. Like, the temperaments were kind of perfect for their characters, which was very cool to see because I feel like a lot of the times with The Sims, you have to like make a story in spite of the game instead of with the game. So it was nice that it was actually like fitting for her character and stuff to be racked with guilt from hurting people. And then, yeah, Bryn turned into a werewolf while at school. I don't know how that went down. Probably not well, but it definitely glitched the whole thing because when they got home from school, their fury bar was like completely full, but they never transformed into a werewolf. And there's a lot of things that you're like blocked from doing until you've had your first transformation. So that was majorly inconvenient. But yeah, Bryn got the anti-capitalist canine temperament, and as all of them did, the like loves the outdoors one or whatever, the one where like they don't like being inside, which again is a little inconvenient if I want to build them a house. It's nice when, you know, they don't have a house right now. And I think it's probably kind of fitting with Bryn's like freaking and adventurous traits. But yeah, you'll see the moodlet, starve to death in 0 minutes. That's a very scary moment. And I was like, you know what? This is a time for cheats. I'm not gonna have my sim die at school because of like a glitch. I mean, okay, yes, it's part of the werewolf transformation that they like get really hungry, but come on, like they're supposed to eat something at school, you know? Okay, like maybe that's on me. Maybe I shouldn't have sent them to school when they're about to become a werewolf, but I just didn't think it would be an issue. Apparently it is. So I just did a little cheat so that my sim wouldn't starve to death and I could continue playing with them. But yeah, then our fury meter was like maxed out and like they just wouldn't transform. So that was also frustrating. What I ended up doing was, at this point I had mods turned off, but I went ahead and I turned mods back on and I got the UI cheats extension, which lets you like click different things to affect them. And I basically just clicked on the fury meter and it let me like set how high the fury was. And I set it below like 100%. And that way it was able to actually build up to 100% and that triggered the transformation. So that's what I did to fix the issue. I don't really know what you would do to fix the issue without a mod. I couldn't figure out if there was a cheat to like affect fury or transformation, but that's what I did. I used the mod, which thankfully worked with werewolves. Unfortunately, also, Bryn didn't get any ability points when they became a werewolf, maybe because it was off screen. I don't really know. The other two started as werewolves, and they started with 2 ability points, but it's kind of hard to like progress when you start with 0 ability points because you gain more experience by using the abilities. If you don't have any abilities, it's like you basically just have to like howl a bunch. So yeah, but it was also cool. Another thing with like Bryn's trait of being a freakin' is they also got a like happy moodlet from being an urban squatter, from sleeping on a lot that wasn't their home lot, which was super cool. I've never seen that one before, but this was just like, I don't know, this gameplay, felt very like the game was actually working with me and the Sims had personality. I did accidentally have Guadalupe eat some meat. I forgot she was a vegetarian. That was my bad. I mean, we've been fishing. We caught so many fish. I just wanted to use the fish, but fish count as meat. So that was my bad, because Guadalupe is actually a vegetarian, so it's a good thing she didn't get the traits where she only eats raw meat, which I'm hoping, since the temperaments seem based on their traits, that a vegetarian sim couldn't get that one, but who's to say? I probably wouldn't choose the ability where they can hunt for meat if you have a vegetarian sim. I'd say let's not do that. And of course, here's Tobias again, having the supernatural brawls. He decided to fight Vlad and then mark his territory on the ground, and the very first sim that he fought is not happy about it, but you know, this is my territory, I guess. I do wish that there were more, like, interactions that werewolf sims could have with each other, you know, in werewolf form, but also just, like, in general, because the main one I saw is where they can, like, share their werewolf experiences. Maybe there's some that you can unlock, but especially, like, when they're in their rage, they really can just, like, snarl at each other. And I don't know, it didn't feel, like, super fitting for Tobias to go and, like, snarl and menace his girlfriend, you know? But maybe that's the point of the rage, is that, like, they just don't have any control and they might hurt people they care about, you know? You never know. They just run around doing everything. So, fair enough. I mean, they are, you know, in an uncontrollable rage. But once Tobias finished his little werewolf rage, I had him go and do some dumpster diving, which, you know, maybe not the best when you have a terrible headache, but here we go. There also seem to be a lot of stray dogs in this world, which is kind of cool. I mean, I assume they did that on purpose because, you know, werewolves will be dogs around and stuff. But that's interesting because I haven't really seen stray dogs in worlds other than Brindleton Bay before. And then Bryn is over here, you know, on the brink of entering a rage himself, just doing some homework, and Guadalupe actually decided to help, which I thought was kind of sweet, while, you know, Bryn's eyes are glowing red and they're just doing their homework at the bar. But, you know, they're still going to school. I don't know how great of an idea that is, but we're still going to school apparently. I just kind of worried a little bit because, like, if they don't go to school at all, and their grades suffer, they can, like, get taken away or whatever. But it's probably okay at this point. It's not like their grades are going up that much by them going to school. And then Tobias was, you know, taking a little nap on the ground in between the dumpster diving, and Guadalupe is trying to fix the sink that I'm pretty sure it was Tobias who broke the sink, but it's okay. They'll have a little bit of fun time together still. They can find love even in the garbage dumpster. They're very cute. I really like how the hair that Guadalupe has like a moon shaved into the back. It looks super cool. But yeah, they just had a nice little woohoo, a nice little diving for thrills in the dumpster. Once again, Bryn's needs weren't really being taken care of at school, which is not great. But when they got home from school and decided to start diving for meals in the dumpster, which is nice that they autonomously do that as a freaking sim. Although it's kind of frustrating because a lot of times when you dive for meals, you just get like ingredients or stuff you could plant. But it's like, I don't want to just have my sim eat like a random quill fruit. I want them to have like actual food. Sometimes you have to dive for meals quite a few times before you find any actual like meals. And then even when you do find them, half the time they're spoiled, which you can like kind of take a chance with, but then they're just gonna be sick to their stomach and like, well, that doesn't seem like a good idea. But I'm hoping, you know, maybe we can plant some of these, we can sell some of them as well. So we get a little bit of stuff from this, even if, you know, it's not exactly the meal I was looking for. Maybe Tobias can share some of his raw meat. But after all that, Bryn did eventually find some sausage rolls and decided to wolf it down. I decided to do a little save as because Bryn was so glitched at this point, I needed to go turn on mods and install a mod so that I could try to fix it, and UI Cheese extension did indeed help me fix it. I forgot to start recording again until Bryn was already like halfway through the first transformation, but here we go. It worked. Like I said, I just used the UI cheats extension to like cheat down their rage and then let it build up to 100% again, and they actually finally had a transformation. Meanwhile, at the same time, Tobias is going back into human form, while Bryn is having their very first rage. Tobias did destroy a few things in his rage, though. Don't worry, he's gonna go right back to diving for deals in the dumpster. Well, now Bryn gets to destroy everything. They really like to mess with that log. And also Guadalupe and Bryn had a little howl together, which was cute. Of course, then Bryn ruined it by going and snarling at their older sister. But, you know, not all sibling relationships can be perfect all the time, right? But it is really cute how they'll, like, howl together. If you have one sim howl and then another werewolf is nearby, they'll, like, join in. It's very adorable. Finally, Bryn got one ability point from, I guess, like, we did enough things to finally reach, you know, gain one ability point. So I gave them the scavenger ability because, I mean, it's really fitting for, like, a rags to riches type thing. They can find more stuff, and it's also a good way to keep a werewolf out of trouble when they are rampaging, because you can use their werewolf abilities while they are like in a rampage, and that's one way. If you don't want them to destroy a bunch of things or hurt a bunch of sims, that is one way to like sort of distract them, just have them rummage a whole bunch. They can also text with wild disregard for all that is sacred while in werewolf form, which is kind of, I get a funny twist on like the fact that sims are always using their phones. They can even use their phone while they're a werewolf, and then sometimes the sims will reply and be like, excuse me, how dare you text me that, or whatever. The second tier of werewolf abilities are kind of interesting. There's like enhanced smell. There's ones where, you know, you can hunt for food, where you can just eat random furniture. There's also ones where you can like try to resist the like rage and turn back into a human. Another skill came in handy here when Bryn and Guadalupe's father Nicholas showed up, and Guadalupe was not having this, and so her ferocious intimidation came in handy because she was actually able to scare him off and say like, hey, no, get out of here, and he ran away, which is exactly the reason that I gave her that ability in the first place. So it was nice to see it like fit in narratively. And then poor Bryn just woke up on top of this mountain, naked, not sure what had happened, and scared. Yeah, the first transformation is a little bit traumatic, I'll be honest. But it's okay. Now they had a nice warm bed to come back to in this little bunker that they found, which, like, there are, like, no other werewolves here. I don't know why. I guess maybe just there aren't that many werewolves to come onto the lot to be there. And the door to this little bunker is like werewolves only, so no other sims can come down there. But they basically had this whole area all to themselves for most of the time. I actually had Guadalupe try to flirt with Celeste, the bartender, because I don't know, I thought it would be cute, they would be cute together. And she did not feel good about going against the fated mates thing, because Guadalupe and Tobias are apparently fated mates. So I guess the game has decided that they're monogamous, which, alright. And then Guadalupe did try to regain control. The first time it did not work, but the second time it was a little bit more successful. And now she's like able to, I don't know if it'll work every time, but when she's in a rage, she can try to regain control, even though she will feel sad and have some guilt afterwards from that other temperament, which is a bit of an issue because so, like, one of her temperaments makes her rage go up more quickly when she's sad. And then the other one makes her feel sad and guilty all the time about hurting other people. So it's just kind of a really vicious cycle, which I guess is fitting. But Bryn did try to, like, cheer Guadalupe up. They shared some of their werewolf experiences. And even I, like, have a mod where they can ask and tell their pronouns to each other. So even, like, shared their pronouns, which, of course, these sims would already know at this point. But I just thought it was a cute interaction. And, like, I liked that they could bond a little bit and maybe, like, help each other feel better and share their thoughts and just support each other, because I think they both need a little bit of support in their lives. Although it was a little bit awkward when Guadalupe tried to give Bryn the werewolf talk. But they just decided to go and play some cards together. I never put this card table in any of my builds, but it is kind of cool to like have sims play with it a bit. Also, a very important part of the like first werewolf aspiration is that they need to read 3 different werewolf books. So I made sure to have all of these sims, you know, start reading the werewolf books. Luckily in this little bunker there was a bookshelf bookshelf that had werewolf books in it that they could read. You can actually learn some really interesting lore from these. You can even like read them a few times to learn that lore. Now, another important aspect of the first werewolf aspiration is to experience a full moon, and well, our Sims are about to have an opportunity to do that, as it is a full moon and their rage is quickly rising. I think pretty much all werewolf Sims are gonna transform on a full moon, like it just goes up really quickly, and they all transformed right around the same time. So now we have 3 rampaging werewolves to deal with, and this is kind of where I was saying, like, I wish that there were more interactions that they could have in werewolf form, because they could still only like snarl at each other when like they just transform together. Also, Tobias ate the jukebox, and so that's just gone now. Like, I didn't think it would just disappear. No, it's gone. Like, it's completely gone. And then of course he marked the territory, so that's real classy, Tobias. But Guadalupe was again able to gain control of herself, even though it was a full moon, which honestly is like kind of dangerous because there's still a bunch of werewolves running around. And now she's in human form and can't really do anything against these werewolves who are just running around and aren't, you know, necessarily respectful of personal boundaries and keeping people safe, as you'll see. Tobias was like all up in her face, and I was like, dude, can you just leave her alone? Like, she's trying to read this book, Beyond Big and Bad, Rethinking Harmful Werewolf Stereotypes. She's trying to better herself and learn about being a werewolf, and then Tobias just comes up and like howls in her face and then like pees on the ground. Like, dude, can you can you chill out? She's like, what are you doing? Why, like, seriously. And then she became tense from being in another Sim's marked territory. Like, I don't know. I think I'd be tense if a Sim peed on me too and then destroyed the chair where I had been trying to read. But she's a trooper. She's just sitting in there trying to continue reading until finally Tobias and Bryn turned back into humans. Like, thank goodness. But even still, even after all of that, they can still only share werewolf experiences. I don't know, I just wish they had more, like, werewolf interactions that they could do between each other. And then for some reason, Tobias was, like, angry from eating the stereo because it wasn't raw meat, but then at the same time he was like, oh, that was actually pretty tasty. And, of course, Guadalupe was the first one to complete the first werewolf aspiration, and then you can sort of like choose which one you want to do next. So you can become an emissary of the collective, you can become a wild fang renegade, you can become a lone wolf or a cure seeker. Now, I didn't think like any of these Sims would necessarily want to like seek a cure, but that is something you can do. That is an option. I was kind of hoping the aspirations would be a little bit less tutorial-like, and they do seem a little bit tutorial-y. But it was cool. At least I have 3 different Sims to try out 3 different paths. I think that Bryn will want to join the wild fangs. Meanwhile, Guadalupe is probably more interested in the Moonwood Collective and being a more like restrained werewolf. And then I just chose like the lone wolf for Tobias, even though he's not really a lone wolf. Like, they're kind of trying to make their own pack, but that's not exactly something you can do. But Bryn decided to get to know Rory a little bit better, who is the leader of the Wild Fangs, because, you know, if we want to join the Wild Fangs, we do need to, like, be friends with them and, like, get close. And, I mean, they already have a matching hairstyle, so, you know. Hopefully Bryn can get on well with Rory and the rest of the Wild Fang members, and maybe, you know, become part of the pack themselves in the future. We'll see where that leads. I don't know how they'll end up feeling about the hierarchy of it all, but I can definitely see Bryn being drawn towards this group. We finally unlocked the 3rd tier of werewolf abilities. So I think I gave Tobias like night vision or something, which is very cool. There's also like natural healing and a pack howl. Lots of very interesting things. I think some of these even unlock like new stuff down in the tunnels, so you can like use them to go down the tunnels, and then there will be new options, because the options in the tunnels do tend to get kind of repetitive. But if you have like some of these abilities, I think you can discover new things. I did have them go and try to explore the tunnels a little bit more, and Guadalupe and Rory tried to become friends, to sniff and introduced, but it kind of just ended badly. Rory was very tense and not super a fan of Guadalupe. But yeah, that is all I have for you today. If you're enjoying this, if you want to see more of these trans werewolves and their lives, make sure to give this video a like and leave a comment letting me know that you're enjoying it, because I'm definitely really enjoying playing with these Sims. But when you do something like leave a like or comment, it lets me know that you're enjoying them too, and that I should continue recording it and posting these videos for you all to share, because I mean, I'll definitely definitely be playing with them on my own either way. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'm excited to see what happens next time with these Sims. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I will see you next time.